I found this guy, Oshae Jackson. I think he's more of a cop watcher so far than a First Amendment auditor. He's done some of both. I love his stuff. Great. I love the guy. So far, anyway. I don't agree with him on everything, but so anyway, there's this video. This is a year old, September of 2016, a little over a year old. And in this video, there is a stop. Now he asks for this, so he says Officer Hayes, in charge with the subordinate Officer James, feels violating people's rights falls within his oath to protect the Constitution. On Victory Drive, Columbus, Georgia, it's wrong to pull the young man out of the passenger side of the vehicle and ID him, then put him in handcuffs, just in case he has done something wrong, is a violation of his Fourth Amendment right. Please tell me what you guys feel about this. So I'm telling you what I feel about it. First thing I'd like to say, you said that you're fine if somebody wants to give up their ID voluntarily. I'm not. Ask any defense attorney out there. There are very few things that all attorneys will agree on, but well, I guess prosecutors won't agree on this. But don't talk to the cops. Don't voluntarily give up any information. If you have to give up your ID, like if you're driving and they say, give me your ID, then give them your ID. You have to, usually under the traffic laws, the vehicle code laws. And, nobody wants to see you get beat up and thrown in jail and lose your court case. But if you're not under any obligation to give someone your ID, then don't. There's nothing good that can come from it. There's literally nothing good. You will never clear yourself by giving someone your ID. And you're saying, well, if they're looking for someone else and you give them your ID and they see that it's a different person's name than they were looking for, then they'll let you go. Oh, really? No. It will never clear you. They'll look at it. If they already think you're the dude, or if they think you're doing something suspicious, they'll run it anyway just to see if you have warrants. They'll generate a report. Now there's a history of you being pulled over by the police, and oh, you're one of those guys or something. Just don't do it. Like I just don't agree with that particular much. I don't think anybody should ever talk to the police willingly at all. Kenny Suter, I think was his name, was the guy. I don't answer questions. Just everything. I don't answer questions. No nonsense. No playing games. No trying to get the officer to engage in them just so that they could get hits on how cunning they are and how much drama they can generate. Just over and over again. I don't answer questions. Where are you going? I don't answer questions. When did you leave? I don't answer questions. Where'd you come from? I don't answer questions. Is this your car? I don't answer questions. Is this address correct on your driver's license? I don't answer questions. Just over and over again. It's beautiful. It brings tears of joy to my eyes. I always recommend that. You never know what information you're giving the officer. And officers are very, very good at getting people to talk. You watch these, I love watching these First Amendment audit streams and these cop watch streams and things like that. And over again, you see the cops, they'll try to get you to talk out of anger. Then they'll try to get you to be their friend. They'll play with your emotions. They'll try to figure out what they can get you, what actually gets through to you to get you talking to them. And all of a sudden, you're spilling all sorts of information that you didn't think you were. And you never know what's gonna trigger something, what's gonna give that officer reasonable suspicion to do something or probable cause to do something. You never know. So just that's really the big thing I disagree with on his advice. In this video, it starts off, he's driving down the street. He sees a stop here. Now he says he believes, and I watched the video. And I didn't see any evidence I didn't see any of the officers saying that it was a traffic stop. through none of this video do we see the officers interacting really with the driver at all. They pull the stop, they pull the guy out. They're really concentrating on him the whole time. There's apparently people in the back seat and things like that, but they're concentrating on this guy right here. Now, do they have the right to pull passengers out? Absolutely. That's cut and dry. If they're doing a traffic stop, first of all, if they're doing a stop, if they have probable cause or reasonable suspicion to stop the driver, then they can stop the car. And if they stop the car, then everybody is seized. Everybody's detained. Does that mean that they could ID the passengers? Absolutely, it does not. There's no requirement on passengers to ID. Can they pull you out of the car? Absolutely, they can. It's under officer safety, and I don't think they do it for their safety, and I think they overblow the security risks to them. I mean, there's 2 cops there. There's one guy. He's obviously not trying to do anything. You tell me. But, okay. But can they handcuff him? Yes, again, under officer safety. It's stupid, but they can do it. There's no violation of his Fourth Amendment at this point. Now, if this guy gives the officer his ID. Now, if there wasn't a traffic stop, if he wasn't detained just from the traffic stop, if like an officer, case law in Georgia and in general, if the officer takes your ID while the officer has your ID, you're detained. So if you hand the officer your ID willingly, and then he takes it to his car and runs it, well, things that he finds from that, well, you gave it to him, so maybe. But if he just wants to look at it and then he hands it back, then you're free to go. But the courts have held it while the officer's holding on to your ID, no reasonable person would think they were free to leave, that they could just walk away and leave their ID with the officer, or your insurance, or your registration, or anything like that. But again, it all depends on why they stopped him. Now, what if they stopped him because they had a call that a young black male wearing all black was involved in an assault? Just what if, right? And what if they said that they saw him fleeing in a was that PT Cruiser? What if? So they pull over a PT Cruiser because they see this guy's in it and he matches the description and the car matches the description. The court's going to say that's reasonable. That's reasonable suspicion. We know that a crime has occurred, and the suspect is a young black man wearing all black that fled the scene in a dark PT Cruiser. Okay, well, that's, they could check all the little boxes and say that gives them reason to do the stop and on him. Now, what if he just said something? What if when they did the initial stop, he said something that made them believe, or maybe they saw him in the car and he matched a description or something. I mean, we just don't know. So if it is a traffic stop, arguendo, let's assume that it is a traffic stop. Let's assume that they pulled this car over for speeding, right? Then the scope of their stop would be for the speeding. And as soon as they conducted the business on that speeding ticket or warning, then they're done. And any further detainment ceases being reasonable, and it would probably lead any evidence gathered to be suppressed. But I really don't think this is, well, and then, but if something does during the course of that traffic stop, if they see a bag of weed on the floor or something that gives them probable cause or reasonable suspicion to then detain the passenger on completely separate grounds, then that is probably reasonable. But judging from what I saw on this video, there was next to no interaction with the driver. When we roll up, there's one officer on one side, but this guy is paying attention here. This officer is looking at him, right? So we don't see this officer on this side at any point. I don't see him take the ID of the driver. I don't see him call it in. He doesn't appear to be looking to make a ticket. This stop appears to be targeting this young man right here. And you're going to say, well, it's because he's a young black man, or he's guilty till proven innocent. I don't know about that. There are other people in there. At some point, you could see him shining a light, and other people are handing out their from the back seat. Somebody else hands out their ID, and the officer doesn't even take it. Oh yeah, he does. He looks at it. He takes it. He looks at it. I'm just gonna mute this. I'm gonna play it for a second. Is that it? Is that where the back seat? Here we go. Back seat. He's talking to someone in the back seat who has not been brought out. There, he gets their ID, or he had their ID, or is that the? There it is. But it doesn't appear like, well, okay, so is this search illegal? No. It's, you know how photographers like to say, anything I can see from public? Well, anything that these cops can see from where they're legally allowed to be is good. That cop is not in the car. Now if he reached in there and if he opened up the glove box, that, unless he had probable cause to go into that glove box, like if they said, oh, there's a gun in there, and this kid had it or something, unless the guy had probable cause to go in that glove box, that would be an illegal search. But because he's allowed to be there, he's allowed to see anything. He could shine his light in there. He could look through windows. Is he looking for something to get him on? Absolutely he is. That's the job of a police officer. I mean, they write protect and serve on their cruisers, but they're there to catch criminals. That's what they're there to do. And anything that he sees that indicates that there's crime afoot, I mean, that's what he's looking for, right or wrong. And then what a court would do is a court would determine whether the stop was justified under reasonable suspicion or probable cause, whatever they're doing, whether the scope of the detainment and the search was within that reasonable suspicion, probable cause. If anything they find comes about because of an improper search or an improper detention, then the defense attorney will try to get that suppressed as fruit of the poisonous tree. And if the cops don't get to present the evidence of the crime, like the bag of weed or whatever, then it's really hard to get a conviction. Yeah, so we found him with weed. What weed? Oh, man, gee, that sucks, huh? So is it a Fourth Amendment violation? I don't think so. It doesn't appear to be at this point. I mean, it doesn't appear to be. Is it wrong, like on a moral grounds? It's questionable. We don't have enough information. We don't know why they were stopped. We don't know what the cops were looking for. I don't think they're hassling him just because he's young and black, because there were other people in the car, and I'm going to assume without knowing. I mean, it looked like from the hand that came out of the window was a black person in the car, but I could be wrong. See if we could find that again. Somewhere in there. But yeah, I don't think that it's a racial animus. Could be. Who knows? But yeah, so that's my take on it. That's my ramble. And I'm going to put links to this guy. And also, this guy had an amazing video. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it to death. It was... Was it this one? No, it wasn't this one. It was one where he stood his ground. It was absolutely amazing. And he just shut that officer down. Oh man. Was it this one? Yeah. I think it was this one. Yes, it was this one. Oh, it was beautiful. This sergeant was trying to back him off, make him go further and further away. And Oshae was like, no, I talked to my lawyer. You're going to have to arrest me. This was amazing. I highly suggest you watch it. It just tickled me pink. And yeah, I'll put a link to this one in the description as well. Have a great day.